Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I'll go over everything quickly, but there is more detail in the rulebook. Please remember that most of the art and components are not the final product. The objective of Summit is to survive the race from base camp to the summit and back, while making as many points for pole position as possible. At the end of the race, you will also make points on the karma track, which I will explain later. Set up the game by laying the game board in the center of the table. Before beginning, I recommend players choose a difficulty setting. The easier the difficulty, the shorter the run on the mountain, and the less severe the weather. Next, place the blizzard marker on the setting of your choice. At the bottom for chill, the easiest setting. Next, take the item tokens and place them along the side of the board with their matching numbers. Take the dice and the active player token and place them next to the board within reach of all players. All remaining tokens can also be placed close to the board. Place the base camp tile at your selected difficulty. Again, the easier the game, the shorter the mountain. For a 2 to 3 player game, place 1 base camp. For 4 to 6, use 2 base camps. Next, place the halfway camp along the board marking for your difficulty setting. For an easier game, you can use 2 halfway camps. Lastly, place the summit at the peak of the mountain. For a 2 to 4 player game, choose the 2 to 4 player summit. For a 5 and 6 player game, choose the 5 to 6 player summit. Next, mix up the triangular tiles, dealing 3 to each player. There are 3 different types of tiles, with 7 different layouts on those tiles. The first, with the dark rope and healthy green trees, are the best and safest tiles. They allow characters to move quickly through the tiles without any negative effect. The blue tiles are ice tiles. Having more trail points of movement will slow characters down. And finally, the yellow tiles with the dead trees are points of low oxygen, causing players to consume 1 oxygen per tile. There are 2 main rules when placing tiles. Tiles must be connected, short side to short side, or long side to long side. Never short to long. And players may only place tiles as their movement requires. They are not able to randomly place tiles in a way to block or slow down other players. Shuffle the blue event cards and the red karma cards and place them next to the board. Deal 4 karma cards to each player. Randomly assign player mats to all of your players, along with the matching colored tokens. All players take their pawn characters and place them below the base camp. Players also take one of their marker cubes and place it on the number 5 on the karma track. Next, players will prepare their character mats by placing marker cubes in each of the squares marked with an X. This shows you have no food, no oxygen, no weight, but full health and full speed. Once all players have done that, deal up 3 times as many starting items as there are players. Starting with the last player to receive their character, every player, going clockwise, may choose 1 item. The last player to choose may choose a second item, and the order is reversed. At the end of this process, players may have 0, 1, or 2 items. Players will add up the weight of those items and adjust their weight marker accordingly. When choosing items, players will want to watch for the weight, lack thereof, and the card's abilities. When adding up weight of items, players will add any weight on the cards to their character mats. Once you've adjusted your weight due to your items, players are able to adjust their food and oxygen in any way they desire. For every weight symbol passed by a cube, players will adjust their weight marker in the same direction. For every speed marker passed, they will adjust their speed marker in the same direction. A tip for new players: when a cube is moved in one direction, any further cubes will be moved in the same direction. So as players gain food and oxygen, they will gain weight, which will slow them down. As they consume their food and oxygen, they will lose weight and speed up. When a player no longer has any food or oxygen, and there is a requirement, they will lose 1 health per required resource. For example, if a blizzard caused the loss of 2 food, they would instead lose 2 health. If that health loss caused them to pass a speed marker, they would again lose speed. When a character heals in camp, they may adjust their speed accordingly. When playing a karma card, players must have the required karma resource to play it. For example, a card gaining 1 would raise your marking cube 1. A card that costs 2 would make you lose 2. When a player descends all the way to the bottom of the karma track, they are no longer able to play negative karma cards. they must raise their karma before using any negative cards. However, when players reach the top of the karma track, they may play as many nice cards as they wish. However, they will not receive any points above 12. When looking at your karma cards, there are different things to watch for. You will know if your card is good by the halo symbol, or bad because of the pitchfork. You will also see whether you are gaining points, losing points, or neutral. You will see what you will be affecting. You'll also be able to see if you can play anytime, or if you'll have to wait. Players may play as many karma cards as they like, but may only draw fresh cards at the end of their turn. Once everyone's character is ready, the character with the highest speed goes first. In the event of a tie, the eldest of the tied players begins. On your turn, you have various options. You may play tiles and move your current speed. Or you may choose not to move, to discard your tiles and draw a fresh hand. Or you may attempt to roll to remove your negative card or token. If you roll a blank, the token or card remains. If you roll an E, the card or token is emptied. Lastly, you may choose to discard one of your karma cards as a way of refreshing your hand. Next, at the end of your turn, you must roll the event die and the weather die. When rolling the event die, a blank means draw no cards. An E will cause you to draw a blue card from the event deck, reading the entire card aloud. For the weather die, 5 of the possible outcomes affect only the player rolling the die. A sun will cause your character to consume 0 food. A single snowflake will cause them to consume 1 food. A double snowflake, 2 food. The blizzard will affect all players outside of a camp. It will cause the blizzard marker to rise 1 level, and all players will consume the required resource. As the blizzard track rises, the resource requirement gets higher until eventual death. After resolving both dice, players may draw up their karma hand and tile hand as needed. Then they will pass the dice and the active player token to the person on their left. Because players are using ropes to climb the mountain, they cannot pass other players at will. They must ask permission. So if green is hoping to pass yellow, they would ask. If yellow gives permission, the green player may move freely. The yellow player will receive a karma point. If, however, the yellow player refuses passage, the green player must go a different direction. The player blocking the path will lose 2 karma. Upon reaching a camp, a player may end their turn with the plans of resupplying. In camp, players have 3 options. At the beginning of their turn, they may reload food and oxygen to the levels they wish, adjusting their weight and speed accordingly. Or they may heal up to 3 points. Or they may draw 3 items, keeping the ones they wish and returning the others to the deck. If players choose and have enough speed, they can continue climbing without stopping in camp. They will still place their score marker for reaching the camp. Once players have summited and returned to base camp, the game is over and scores are added up from the position track and their final standing on the karma track. If any players perish while on the mountain, their scores are still added at the end of the game. Players may scavenge any resource or items those players are carrying. In the event of a tie, the first player of the tied players to summit the mountain wins the game. To set up Summit for a cooperative or solo game, there are a few main changes. The karma cards are returned to the box, and the Sherpa track is placed over top of the karma track. The time of day track also covers up the position score track. Before leaving base camps, cooperative players will decide on the time of day which they want to leave. When traveling during the night phases, players' movement is halved. The halfway camp is not in the cooperative game. Instead, players must rely on their trusty Sherpas to help them carry oxygen, food, and extra item cards. As well as some cooperative items, players will also add the cooperative events into the event deck. They will remove any non-cooperative items and events from both decks. For cooperative play, there is an optional scoring systems players may use to try to reach new high scores. For a cooperative team to win, at least one player must summit the mountain and return to base camp alive. Not all players need to survive the adventure, but the team will receive more points if they do. To change the cooperative game to a solo game, the single player will have the option of drawing more items and bringing along 2 Sherpas. Good luck, this mountain is brutal.